Hi, my name is Brenda Bryant, and I am your instructor for today on financial and cyber fraud. Probably something we don't want to talk a lot about, but something we're very, very aware of. First, before we get started, I want to make sure that you know about the roadmap. And the roadmap is a place where you can go when you have questions about where you are in your business journey. This is filled with resources. Just click on one of the spaces and it will take you to a place of many resources that will help you move through whatever the question is that you have. So you go to business.nu.gov. The QR code is there. It's a great resource. I encourage you to use it. Now, when we talk about fraud, we know that it's happening all over the place. And when I was thinking about putting this class together, I was actually thinking about fraud that is financial. But I had a student to come to the class and was really interested in fraud that touches the cyber university, the universe that we all live in. And what can we do about it? How can we recognize it, etc.? So I revised the class to include both types of fraud. So we're going to be looking at both financial and we're going to be looking at cyber. What you're going to find is a lot of the things that you do for one to be on top of not getting caught in a fraud situation, you're going to find that you can also use in the other. So when we look at financial fraud, we do look at internal and external. And so from an internal base, we're thinking about, what happens within our company that could cause us to get in a situation of fraud. Embezzlement, payroll fraud, check tampering, expense reimbursement fraud. Now, I was thinking about the check tampering because I know that many of us don't use checks or definitely don't use as many checks as we used to. But there are companies, and they may be some of our customers or vendors who use checks. So just be aware that the check amount matches the exact amount that you are supposed to be paying, etc. Expense reimbursement is pretty clear. It's when somebody pads their expense account. That's one of the reasons that we check, and double check when it comes to what's happening in our company, not only from a financial standpoint, but from any of the things that we're trying to do. Remember, what gets measured gets done. So we're going to have to choose what those things are that we measure so that we can make sure we're on track. So how do you get hit with financial fraud from an external standpoint? Well, it could be vendor fraud, it could be fake invoices, it could be credit card, somebody using our credit card. We know we live in the world of identity theft, so we know that when people steal our identities, what are they going after? They're going after our money. So just be aware. From a cyber standpoint, there's phishing, deceptive emails and communications that steal our information. Again, what are they stealing the information for? They're stealing it for money. Ransomware, where something is put inside your computer, some kind of malware is put inside your computer that does not allow you to use your computer, does not allow you to go in and work with the clients that you have, find the data that you have, do the things that you do on a normal basis. So when ransomware attacks, it really is for money. It's for ransom. And the first one that I heard about, and I doubt if it was the first one that happened, was when the city of Baltimore got hit with ransomware and the whole city closed down. We're finding now that it's popping up almost everywhere. It's in hospitals. It's I mean, can you imagine somebody holding the information that could save somebody's life? That's just a very scary thought. So we want to make sure that as a business, we are looking out for those kinds of things. What are those weird things that are happening? It just don't feel exactly right. Then let's make sure that we check them out completely. Also, as I mentioned, identity theft, which is something that we're all very much aware of, but there's also business email compromise. This one was a fairly new one for me. And that's when the executives of the company, the leaders of the company are getting their information stolen, and then it is sent that sends out fraudulent transactions. So you get something from the owner of the company that says to do X, but the owner did not send you that email. So again, if something looks off, take the time to find out, is it real or not? And what kind of red flags pop up? Red flags for finance is checking to see if things are falling into place the way that you had set them up, either in your plan or as you are looking as your company is going forward. So if we're looking at discrepancies in anything, financial records, documents, changes in accounts, unexplained things that's happening. I had an account, my bank account, and I was just fingering through it, and I saw that I had an 84 cents charge. And that looked a little strange to me because, first of all, why would I put 84 cents through my bank? Why don't I just pay the person $1 and get my 16 cents change? So I called the bank, I asked them about that, and they immediately flagged it, closed that card, and sent me a new one. Now, 84 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but the fraud person told me that 84 cents is just the beginning. So if I'm not checking, then that 84 cents kind of slides by, or it just, I don't know what that was, but it just, I don't even take a look at it. I don't stop and ask questions. And then maybe the next time I go into my account, there's nothing there. So please be aware of those little things, because it's the little things that we stop that will keep this from turning into a big problem. From a cyber standpoint, we want to be suspicious of email. Read the email address. Make sure it is a legitimate address, one that you know. Don't get the one that says something.amazon.something else. If it did not come from Amazon, if you don't know what that looks like, if it has too many letters or numbers or symbols in it that is not recognizable to you, then don't open it. Don't click on it. Unusual login attempts where people have tried to log in more than once. I've had that happen to myself, and I've been the one who tried to log in. Maybe I made a mistake in putting in my information, and I get locked out of my own stuff because I tried one too many times. So just be aware. And unexpected file access or software activity. Again, we're looking for the small things that grab our attention because they're a little off. When we look at financial fraud prevention, what can we do to step up? What can we do to say, I'm not going to have this happen to me, and if something pops up, I'm going to be aware of it? Well, one of the first things is let's make sure we have separation of duties. I don't want you to have one employee who handles all of your money. So I don't mean don't have a bookkeeper. Bookkeeper is keeping track of what's going on. But the person who's handling the transactions, putting the transactions into the system, is not the person who pays the bills, who signs the checks, who takes the deposits to the bank. Even if you're doing electronic deposits, that's not the person who does the electronic deposits, because then that person has too much control over your finances and maybe is tempted to do something that is not correct for your business. So separate out duties. As a business owner, when you have people who are handling your money, that does not mean that you have to be the accountant, but it does mean that you have to be accountable. You have to be the person who is overseeing what is happening, and you have to be the person who is the ultimate sign off on whatever duties they are doing. From an internal standpoint, you want to implement strict policies, and you want people to know who's authorized to do what. You want them to know how things work in your business. How do vendors get paid? How do invoices get sent? How do expenditures get accounted for? And we need to make sure that all the people who are involved have had the training so that they know exactly what it is that you are expecting them to do. So they can follow the processes, they can follow the policies, they can follow the procedures because they have been well taught. You also want to make sure that you have some kind of financial software that highlights any irregularities and can track your transactions. So for a lot of people, they use QuickBooks for their software to keep track of their money coming in and their money going out. QuickBooks is very good at saying something is off. These things are not matching. But there are also other types of software out there. And if you are interested in knowing more about different types of financial fraud prevention or detection software, I would recommend that you talk to a cybersecurity specialist, an IT specialist who can direct you to the type of software that you need. Regular audits, most times when I think of a financial audit, I'm usually thinking of an audit that's done for tax purposes. But these are audits that are done to make sure that everything that we're doing in the company is being done the way we want it to be done. That we want to catch things that are out of whack before they turn into real problems, like that 84 cents I just talked about. From a cybersecurity standpoint, we want to have very strong passwords, and we want to teach people about our password policies. So it is extremely important if you within your company, but think about if you're using an outside contractor. You've got to make sure that your outside contractor knows what to do so that something doesn't slide in from their company into yours. Make sure that you train people. It sounds like it takes a lot of time to go through all this stuff and get everybody on board and teach people how to do stuff. And then I got to watch them. But if you don't take the time to do it, if you don't take the time to train them, if you don't take the time to make them aware of what to look for, somebody out here in the world will slide something into your company that you don't want. So the training, the policies, the procedures, all of this stuff is extremely important. have regular software updates. And we get this stuff all the time, and something pops up and says, hey, we got an update for you on your computer, your Apple computer, your Dell computer, or whatever it is, or we have an update in the software. I recommend that you take a moment to double check to make sure that that is really an update. Once you feel comfortable that that is a real update, then make sure you keep your system updated. Data encryption is extremely important. I have no idea how to encrypt anything, but I do know that there is software out there that will encrypt for me. And I want to make sure that I have the latest and the most effective type of encryption for the information that I have. It does not matter if I am a $100,000 company, a $10,000 company, or a $10 million company. This is my company. I want to keep it safe. I want my customers to be safe and confident that their information is being handled correctly. I want my vendors to feel the same way, my contractors to feel the same way. I want all of us to know that this is a safe place in which to work, and I'm doing everything that I can to not only make it safe, but keep it safe. Regular backups. Make sure that you are backing up your data. Sometimes it sounds like, another thing to do, but it is definitely well worth it. Keep those policies and procedures updated also. One of my first jobs out of college was to write policies and procedures for AT&T. Oh, wasn't that fun? My second job was to write some SOPs for the federal government. Oh, that's even more fun. But those policies and procedures make a difference in how things are done, how you can keep continuity, and how you can catch those little things before they turn into big things. So as we're looking at this, let's look at some fraud monitoring. What are the things that we can do from a financial standpoint? Well, we definitely want to review our financial records. Now, that is so easy to do nowadays, because we can go into our bank account, we can see what we did today, we can see what we did yesterday, we can see what has been posted, what is being ready to be posted. We can look at the activity, right? We don't have to wait until we have a bank statement in order to do that. But what we also want to do is make sure that once we have that bank statement, that we match everything against what the bank says, against what we say. Track our KPIs. That's another one of those acronyms, and it means key performance indicators. What are the things that we're monitoring? What are the things that we're measuring? What are the things that make us feel secure that we are on track? We need to make sure that we're monitoring that. Is it the amount of customers we contact? Is it the amount of sales we bring in? Is it the amount of widgets that we make so that they're ready for sale, etc.? So what are the things in your company that you need to keep an eye on that makes you feel comfortable that you're moving in the right direction? And I've said this over and over, but I'll say it one more time. Look for those things that are a little out of whack, those irregular patterns. If you see something that doesn't look exactly the way you think it should, take the time to do some investigating to make sure that you are comfortable that this is correct, or, oh, I caught something, let me get this taken care of immediately. From a cyber standpoint, set up alerts. So if anything is sounding suspicious or doesn't feel right, set up an alert for that. Look for anything that's unauthorized. Look for any abnormal transfers of data, things that you have not authorized or that just look back to that irregular patterns, look a little off. Then you want to make sure that you secure your evidence and conduct an internal investigation. You notice I keep going from financial to cyber, but you're really doing the same thing, whether it is a financial issue or it is a cyber issue. From a financial standpoint, if you're having some problems with your accounts, freeze them. Okay, just freeze the accounts. And that means that nothing can be moving. Now, it takes time, and for some people it's very irritating, but it is much more safe to freeze your accounts and unfreeze them when you are preparing to use them than it is for someone to go into your accounts and you find out that you no longer have any money. If this is something that's happening internally within your company, you need to find out who's doing it, do the investigation, and then act appropriately. Report fraud to the authorities. So this is not a game. This is very serious business. And anything that is happening in your company that you are uncomfortable with, do the serious investigation and report to the correct authority. From a cyber standpoint, you want to isolate any system in your company. Maybe it's a department, maybe it's a computer, maybe I don't know what that would be, but isolate that piece so that it's not spreading within the company. Is it something that's coming from the outside from a contractor? Then isolate that contractor so that contractor is not continuing to send you information that could be causing you harm. Inform the authorities, okay? Get a cybersecurity specialist to do the investigation. I don't know how much you know about cyber and cybersecurity, but I do know that there are people out there who specialize in knowing about cyber and cybersecurity, and they are the ones that you want to be talking to. Notify your clients or your vendors if there has been a data breach. I think it was one of the credit card companies that got hacked. And it was a credit card company, or maybe it was a cell phone company. I don't remember exactly, but they got hacked. And we did hear about it, but it was 6 months later. You don't want to do that to the people that you're working with, whether they are your clients, whether they're your vendors, whether they're your employees. You don't want to have that big space of time. Oh, I need the time to get it cleaned up before I let them know that it happened. No, let them know. But have this conversation with your IT specialist, with your cybersecurity specialist. Have this conversation to find out what's appropriate for you in your situation. It's just extremely important that we catch it as soon as possible so that we can eradicate it as soon as possible, whether it be financial or whether it be cyber. So from that standpoint, you want to build some kind of a fraud resistance or resilient culture. You want people to know that if something like this happens, let us know so we can jump on this and get it taken care of. We've all heard about whistleblowers. These are people who find that there are things that are going wrong in a company and then they speak up about it. Do you have a policy that allows people to do that? Think seriously about that, because you can't correct what you don't know is wrong. Make sure that your policies and your procedures, your protocols, all of that stuff is constantly being updated and trained. Not just we updated the policy, but we let everybody know that the policy has been updated and how that affects the job that they have. Be vigilant and proactive. Catch this when it's small, because if you don't catch it when it's small, it can explode. And we definitely don't want that to happen. We don't want you to be hacked. We don't want fraud happening in your company, and neither do you. So let's do the things that we need to do to make sure that we're keeping a very, very strong eye on what's going on in the business. Remember, what gets measured gets done. Let's start measuring how safe we are from the standpoint of anti-fraud. We're not going to be hacked. We're not going to put ourselves in a position where that can happen to us. If by chance it does, we also have the policies and procedures in place for how we know how to deal with that. So have a strong company, have a productive company, and have a safe company. Thank you so much for joining us for the class. I hope this was information that was helpful to you. And we got a lot more classes. Just come on back anytime that you would like. We're here for you. We have a virtual classroom, and the virtual classroom has classes in it like this one that you can come to at your convenience to look for the kinds of answers that you want based on what's going on in your business. So there's a lot of classes there. They are in English and in Spanish. We also have a podcast, and it's called Biz Life. We actually talk to people who are working in the community to help the small business community, help you as a business owner be stronger in your business, be more resilient in your business, and help you to grow in the manner that makes your business can be a continuing enterprise.